All right, let's finish up episode 3. This is a little bit too relatable, again. Also, probably more evidence of some kind of mental illness. He cannot focus. Stalking David again. Of course. This entire clip reeks of loneliness to me. He can't focus, probably because he's thinking about David and thinking about how out of control his life is. So he goes to watch this movie that he knows David likes as a way to kind of feel close to him. And then Hans walking in and mentioning Andy reminds Matteo of Grindr, which Matteo immediately connects with his feeling of loneliness. So in another desperate attempt to feel less lonely, he signs up, but is unfortunately immediately overwhelmed. Good ol' internalized homophobia. This is a much tamer and more private, overwhelming experience than the one that Matteo is going to have in the next clip. Just a day later, Matteo is going to have a really overwhelming and probably almost traumatizing experience that once again deals with internalized homophobia. In retrospect, he should probably feel lucky that he got to have this one with Grindr in private and not in front of all of his friends in this crowded party. And this episode really goes hard with the internalized homophobia. It's a tough one. And yes, I'm stalling before the next clip. I'm not crying in this video. It's not happening. I refuse to cry on YouTube. I feel like we were robbed of the Sam and Matteo friendship that apparently only exists in like Instagram stories. I really would have loved to see that. They have great chemistry together. Sarah grabs Matteo again, just like she does in the very, very first clip. And then, this is super interesting, she puts her arms like right on the sides of Matteo's head. It's almost like vaguely threatening. And it's great symbolism of how trapped Matteo is right now. He can't move, he's pinned down. And this makes even more sense considering that the first thing she says is that she's staying over. David enters the party laugh first. The audio mix actually raises David's laugh, which is really cool. It gives you the sense that Matteo instantly hears that laugh. He knows who it is before he even looks. It cuts through all of the noise in the party. This is another difference from the original. In the OG, when Isaac sees Evan with Sonia, he immediately just like chugs some beer and starts making out with Emma, and it's kind of defensive, even spiteful almost. It's very aggressive. He's trying to force himself to like Emma, and he's also trying to force Evan out of his mind. This is different, obviously. Matteo just shuts down, which is extremely in character based on how many times we've seen him give up and look defeated throughout the season so far. He doesn't try to force himself to kiss Sarah. In fact, he distances himself even more from her, and he decides to just kind of exist on the fringes of this party and let Sarah get real messy. Sarah, honey, don't be that bitch. She's that bitch. Oh, Jonas, don't be that bitch. Oh. Jonas, I was rooting for you. He's the one who told Hannah to come to the party, and then he just makes out with this girl right in front of her. I defended you in the last episode. I defended your honor. Now you're doing this shit. The way that that last little montage was edited really gives you the sense that this is how Matteo is seeing the party. It's just all bad. Sarah is on the fucking floor. She's smashed. Jonas is making Hannah feel like shit. Matteo is catching on to all of these little moments that are just really bad. It makes this entire party feel like it's a shit show, which is probably how it feels to Matteo. So I think it's cool that the editing reflects that. And to make it even worse, David is talking to someone else. How dare he? That shot is cool too. You can see that there's so many people on the edges of Matteo's vision to David, but he still has that tunnel vision. He sees right through all of those people, right to David. This also might not mean anything, but Abdi leaving right when Matteo goes to talk to Laura, that could possibly symbolize how everything involving David is completely unknown to the guys. Matteo's existence with David and anything having to do with David has nothing to do with the guys yet. So I think it's cool that Abdi removes himself right when Laura comes in. That has to be a hint, right? That David has talked to Laura about Matteo and mentioned that Matteo got in trouble last time for not cleaning up after they hung out. That's really cute. I love Laura. Oh god. Oh god. Matteo is still physically distanced, and then Hans tries to integrate him with the group. And Matteo, he tries. I think that's important that he tries. He doesn't just immediately shrug Hans off. He doesn't immediately walk away. He tries to be integrated with that group, specifically with this group of, I'm assuming, queer people. If this is a greater symbolism of Matteo trying to accept his sexuality and Hans trying to help him with that, Matteo tries. He tries. He dances for a little bit. He's not completely closed off. And then it gets too real. Just like in the last clip, where everything becomes too real all of a sudden and overwhelming, he can't handle it. Where he could just turn his phone off in the last clip, he's completely surrounded by people here, and it involves a physical person. There's no way for him to safely escape this. His instinct is to immediately physically remove himself, physically distance himself. That is always his instinct. I'm not sure if there's enough evidence to support the fact that this clip is a direct parallel to the first party clip, but there is another instance of a parallel where Matteo forces himself in between Jonas and a girl. And I think in this moment, it could show us that Jonas isn't fazed by this. And he isn't. You can see on his face. He might just be like out of it. He might just be drunk, which he is. But it could also be that he's seen Matteo do this before. Like 2 weeks ago, Matteo did the same exact thing. He pushed his way through Jonas and some girl. So why should he be worried? That's a super, super subtle way of showing not just Jonas's, but the entire boy squad's perception of Matteo just being Matteo. This is the behavior that they've come to just know with him. It doesn't seem like anything's wrong. It's become so normal to them. In that moment, it's normal for Matteo to just leave the party and to push through Jonas. It doesn't seem like anything's that bad. And here we go, the point of no return. This might be my all-time favorite scene in Druck. So the first thing he does when he gets into his room is he locks the door. Not only is he physically distancing himself, but he is eliminating the chance of anyone being able to be close to him. He's not letting anyone in for the foreseeable future. The music is kind of fading, but slowly building and building and building, just like how Matteo's panic is building and building and building. This is also the first time that we've seen Matteo portray really intense emotions. Up until this point, he's kind of just been like this definitely sad, but quietly sad emo boy, kind of. We've never seen him be angry. He's like throwing shit, he's pacing, he does not know what to do with all of this emotion that he's feeling. And I think because we've never seen him act this way before, it makes it even more impactful and striking and sad and scary and just everything that he's probably feeling. Oh god, he's so desperate to just get the joint rolled, but he can barely do it because he's shaking so much and he's crying and panicking. And once he finally gets the joint rolled, he smokes it as fast as humanly possible. And this is our first hint that Matteo doesn't just smoke weed recreationally. He uses it as a coping mechanism. There's also that bright light on him when the music is kind of at its apex, building and building, getting higher and faster. But not even the weed works fast enough because he has to turn to a different coping mechanism. Definitely a healthier one, for sure. And it's music. And the audio there, as soon as he puts the headphones on, it's a little bit more manageable. The music fades, it gets muffled a little bit. Once he turns the song on, it completely fades away, and all you hear is the song, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but there's still more to talk about before we get there. I gotta talk about the acting. I have to, right? We can't ignore the work that Michelangelo has done here. Especially right before he gets the song on, he's like vibrating almost. He's like bouncing up and down. He's biting his lip. His eyes are just like darting everywhere. He's so anxious. He's so panicked. And I think Michelangelo does a perfect job of portraying that. There's a reason why this is my favorite clip, probably my favorite clip of all of Druck. And it's also a scene that isn't in the original, which makes it even cooler. This scene is in place of the Call Your Girlfriend scene, which shows Isaac and Evan like really aggressively looking at each other while they're both kissing their significant others. One of the points of that scene, in my opinion, is to show that Isaac and Evan want to be together really badly, but partially because of Isaac's internalized homophobia. It can't be like that, at least for now. So not only are Isaac and Evan both confronting that fact of, hey, we're not kissing each other. We should be. It makes the audience confront that fact as well. There's frustration and tension and longing in there. But with all of that frustration and tension and longing, the OG doesn't go into the more messier, depressing, and negative connotations that conflict has. And based on one of the previous clips in this episode where Matteo and Sarah have that conversation between the lockers, you get the sense that Druck is willing to go into the more depressing side of this story. So I think that you could argue this scene shows all of that mental anguish and confusion and frustration that goes along with that conflict of what could be versus what is. Yeah, we don't see Matteo making out with Sarah and looking longingly at David. That's not how Druck decides to show us how badly Matteo wants this, how tense that conflict is. They decide to show it through the mental aspect, which makes so much more sense for Matteo's story and for Matteo's character. Just like Isaac and Evan, Matteo and David partially can't be together because of Matteo's internalized homophobia. And they don't show that by having him make out with Sarah while actually looking at David. They show that by having him have a fucking panic attack and letting us sit with that and letting us witness that. And then also, logically, that scene would probably never happen because David doesn't have a girlfriend. Even if he did, there is no fucking way that Matteo and David would stare at each other and basically eye fuck each other across the room as they're kissing their significant others. It would never work. So for many, many, many reasons, the Call Your Girlfriend scene is replaced with this one, and I think it's one of the best decisions that Druck has made. So once he gets those headphones on, he even puts his ears up to make sure that he's drowning out everything else, and he can finally start to calm down. And he looks so empty, defeated again. Hugging the pillow, too, is a really nice touch. We know that Matteo really craves physical affection, and that is the best that he can do in this moment to kind of satiate that need. So I'm going to take this moment to talk about this song. I mentioned in the very first episode that there are 3 artists that come up a bunch of times that I personally think are very important. I thought Ryx was one of the important artists, he shows up in very important scenes. And this song by him is called The Water. This is also his first appearance in the season as well. Some of the lyrics. Thumb and ice, I yearn to get undone. Are you open? Loving like the fire to get it on. Do you open? Leave me by the wake, old corner of the mill, and get in the water. Leave me by the moon, left ready to bloom. I'm needing the water. I'm not great at analyzing song lyrics, but to me, this song is about knowing that you need to change and that you need to grow, and craving that change and craving being known by someone else. But then also through all of that, you don't have the motivation to actually do it, so you just want to be left alone. I yearn to get undone. I've mentioned the word longing so many times, and this lyric just about perfectly sums up what I think that means to Matteo. This web of lies that he's created, he wants all of that to just be undone. He wants his life, this fake life, to be undone. And then the repetition of leave me, which is that resignation that I have also talked about so many times. He wants to be left alone, but he also recognizes that he has to change. Something has to change. He needs the water. If he doesn't get it, if he doesn't grow, he's going to suffer forever. And he's just kind of left with that conflict of needing to change, yearning to change, but also feeling resigned and feeling like you just want to be left anywhere, somewhere, where maybe the water will get to you, but maybe not. This is also another cool way of manipulating the POV. I always love it in Scum when you get to hear what the character is actually listening to when it's diegetic music. I don't know, I always would love to know what these characters' Spotify playlists look like, and this is the closest we're gonna get to that, is these little moments where the characters put on specific songs. And I think seeing and hearing what Matteo's comfort song is really cool. I wish I could have that for every character ever. That would be amazing. He doesn't even answer Leonie. He just still wants to disappear. Doesn't want to deal with it. And when he initially hears Jonas, I think he looks kind of scared. It's very subtle. If it's like fear or even like a little bit of anger. But no matter what it is, it all fades to just kind of defeat at the end. Because, of course, Jonas has to mention that there are naked girls, because that's what he thinks is going to bring Matteo out. This might also be another hint of the guys just think Matteo is Matteo and you should just leave him be. Jonas tries a little bit, but he only tries with comedy. He doesn't kind of knock on the door and be like, hey, are you okay? He asks, are you alive? But that's kind of what you say when you're just joking about it. You're not really taking it seriously. And then more breaking the fourth wall. They do this so much in this season. I can't remember them doing it in the other seasons of Druck, but it happens multiple times in season 3. And I still haven't quite figured out why some of them happen, but a few of them definitely happen in times of distress, when Matteo is panicked or at his worst points. He will look directly into the camera. Not always. There are a couple of moments where he looks into the camera and I don't know why. Either mistakes or something else I'm not picking up on. I don't know. But this one in particular, it means that he knows we've invaded his privacy, and he's kind of challenging us, like, all right, you wanted my POV, you wanted to see what my life is like, you've invaded my privacy, so now you have to sit here and you have to live with it, and I'm gonna look right the fuck at you. If I have to wallow in this, you also have to wallow in this. Like, if you want to see my story, you have to see all of it. That's what it means to me. That's what I get from it, and I think that's so cool and so unique. I don't think any other remake has directly challenged the audience and directly challenged the format of the show like that. A big point of Scum is that we are so intimate with these characters. There are so many shots that go on for just a little bit too long, so there's this discomfort, and you're so close to the main character. In theory, I think you should be really, really close to the main character, uncomfortably close to the main character even. And this season in particular is like, yeah, okay, you want to be close to Matteo? Here you go. You're going to see him have a full-on panic attack, and then he's going to look right at you because he knows you're here. You're just going to have to sit with it. You're going to have to feel that weight that he feels. I think it's fucking brilliant. I really do. and all of the party sounds have finally faded away, and it ends with silence, which is a direct contrast to how this scene started. You know, it also started with him right next to the door, but it was so much louder and it was so much more overwhelming. But now it's silent and it's calm. We've had some time to be alone. This shot, I think, is a direct parallel to the end of episode 2, when Matteo comes back from the bathroom and David isn't there. This time, he's here. He stayed. He didn't escape like he has done every single time so far. He escaped in their very first conversation. He escaped when Matteo tried to talk to him in school and then Leonie butt in. He escaped when they hung out together alone, and he didn't this time. When literally everyone else left, David stayed. Maybe he stayed to help clean up because Matteo mentioned how he got in trouble last time, or he stayed because he was genuinely worried about Matteo and wanted to see if he was okay. And unlike everyone else, David is able to kind of see through Matteo's facade and realize that, oh shit, maybe something's wrong with him. Maybe he's not okay. Maybe it's not just Matteo being Matteo. Whether it's one of those reasons or both of those reasons, I think it shows how in tune David is to Matteo. Further shows that bond that they have, that intimacy that they have already. They haven't even kissed yet, and they just know, they just get each other. The first thing he asks is everything okay? Which is what no one else did. It's the first conversation where David is the one taking the initiative. He asks if Matteo is okay. He says that Matteo looks good, which is definitely more forward than David has been this entire time. I think what this does is that it shows the balance and the emotional intelligence of David. Usually Matteo is the one to be active, and he steps up and he invites David places and he starts the conversations, but Matteo is off here. He's going through some shit. So David is like, okay, I'll balance this out. I'll fill up the silence. You know, I'll try to get him to talk, but I won't be super prying about it. I'll just give him the space that he needs. And it's so beautiful. Matteo mentions a lot later in the season that when he's with David, he feels understood. And I think this is the scene that initially shows us that that's true. David understands. Maybe he doesn't understand everything, but he seems to know how to approach this with Matteo in a way that even Matteo's friends just didn't know what to do. And because Matteo can kind of sense this bond and this intimacy that they have, he immediately opens up. Matteo is so ready to open up to David. He yearns to be undone, just like the Ryex song said. He wants to be known by someone so badly. He's so sick of feeling alone. So he immediately opens up, and David gives him the room to do that and the space to do that. He turns his body, so they're in this together. That's basically an admittance that he likes him, right? That's what that is. He's not holding anything back. There's no point anymore. He's just like, fuck it. Whatever. I'll just tell him. Matteo tears up when David says that Laura is his sister and not his girlfriend. Look at, oh. You can see the huge wave of relief that just hits him. Everything has been going wrong. This entire episode has just been Matteo dealing with internalized homophobia and fucking up and digging himself deeper into this hole, having a fucking panic attack. And now something goes right. His crush is available. Even if everything else in his life is spiraling out of control, at least there's one good thing, and it makes him so happy and so relieved that he tears up. The scene is so sweet and gentle and quiet. This is also super different from the original. Not only is the kitchen scene just a lot quieter and heavier than the kitchen scene in the original, where Isak and Evan are joking about Sonia having like a fucking aluminum leg or something. Like, it's funny. It's funny. Like, they're joking around with each other. So not only is that different, but the kiss is also different. In the original, Isak is completely avoiding eye contact with Evan until right before they almost kiss. Evan is the one who inches closer to Isaac, who leans in, who ducks his head. And here, both Mateo and David, they both like gulp, they both look at each other's lips, they both lean in pretty much at the same rate. They are both wanting this at the same exact time. It's just a completely different vibe than in the original. You can tell that Isaac still isn't totally ready. Maybe Mateo isn't either, but I do think it comes down to Mateo riding that wave of relief that just hit him. So maybe that's why he's suddenly ready to kiss David. All of that internalized homophobia is just fading away in this moment because all that matters right now is that David doesn't have a girlfriend. Everything else fades away. Whereas Isaac at this point is still hesitant until like the very end. I'm not saying that he doesn't want to kiss Evan. He absolutely does. But he doesn't show it like Mateo does here. It's cute too how right before David does the very last lean in, he looks up at Mateo, which I kind of read as a way of him asking like the final consent, like, is this okay? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. But then the fucking hits. That last look. It starts out as defeat, but in the very last moments before it cuts to black, you can see a tiny little shred of hope when he looks up. And also the song. I can't believe they used a Troye Sivan song like right at the end of an episode when it's just not even used. I think they just wanted like a nice acoustic guitar, and they got it. They got it, and they got their points for adding Troye Sivan onto the soundtrack, but come on, you couldn't have used it better. That's such a great song. I think that's finally it. I think we made it. We made it through the fucking torture episode. Well, there are many more. There are more torture episodes. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one for episode 4.